to the Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
Can't hold me. Somebody said roll tide won't roll. We undefeated at the house, same thing on the road.
What an upset we had last week. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NCAA edition, Week 7 picks. Joining as always, co-host Reese Downing. Reese, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Crazy week in college football last week. We had a lot of very highly popular teams go down. Changes the landscape quite a bit.
Yeah, tons of upsets. A lot of teams thankful that there's a 12-team playoff this year because a lot of seasons would have been ended last week. What a crazy week in Diego pissing Pavia. I mean, Bama goes into Vanderbilt. Saban on Pat McAfee's show had said there's only one place he didn't really fear playing in the SEC, and that was Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt actually played that on the video board as they were storming the field right after the game, which was awesome. The goalpost headed to the river. It was a crazy weekend, though. It was an absolute great Saturday for college football. Unfortunately, it ended kind of shitty at 2 a.m. on Sunday when the refs gifted Miami another win, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's start off. So first, we're going to go over who's still perfect. We got 12 teams left that are undefeated in college football. These first two are probably going to come as a shock. This is one of the biggest televised games and anticipated games every year when they play at the end of the season. They usually get their own week dedicated to them. It's the Army-Navy game. It's a huge game every year. This year, I believe there's actually some implications to where they could play for a conference title now that they're both in the same conference. So, and I somewhat believe that if that happens, they play twice. I'd have to look into that. I do feel like they play twice if that were to happen. And it was some weird coincidence, but strangely enough, they are both undefeated right now. Miami, they should not be, but they are undefeated. Texas is undefeated. Ohio State, IU in the Big Ten with Oregon. And we also have Liberty, who last night played Florida International, the airport. And the airport came to play. It took them to overtime, but Liberty did hold on to get a win. Iowa State, kind of a shock team in the Big 12, still undefeated. And BYU, shout out to Mom Talk. We got BYU still undefeated out in Provo. Then Penn State is undefeated, and Pitt rounds out. So some interesting teams undefeated. Like, I mean, yeah, we have Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon, which one of those we're going to lose this week. But no Bama, no Georgia. It's kind of a rare thing to see, especially the way the last few years have gone. No Clemson. I mean, there's a lot of powerhouse teams that haven't lost very many games over the last few years that are not on the undefeated list.
Yeah, no Georgia, no Ole Miss. Miami should have 2 losses right now. They gave up that 25-point.
Yes.
The blue, or I should say, Cal blew the 25-point lead. Vatech, Virginia Tech, excuse me, Mr. Virginia Tech man. That game should have been a win for the Hokies. So,
definitely.
Yeah, they definitely should not be listed in there. But yeah, a couple surprising teams here staying undefeated so far.
All right, so we've got 3 teams this year that have not trailed in a game. Army, Texas. This third one might surprise some people. Coach Sig and the Hoosiers. 3 teams that have not trailed at all this year. Army, Texas, and IU. Reese, I'm going to give you a guess on this one. There's one team in college football that has not led in a game this year. I'll give you a hint. We call them the assiest of ass every week.
Oh God. We call a couple teams the assiest of ass.
There's only one that gets that designation every week. They play Ball State this week.
Oh, we're talking Kent State. Okay.
Yes. The god-awful Kent State.
The old Golden Flashes.
The only team that has not led in a game this year. So another little surprising stat, which this is going to tie into the undefeated thing also, but the longest active winning streaks in the nation right now, I never would have thought that this team with 9 would be leading Army Army with 9 has the longest active winning streak in college football.
Yeah, you could have given me a million guesses. I wouldn't have landed on that.
I know. It's crazy. Following them is 3 teams tied with 6. IU, Miami, and Oregon. So we've got some interesting stats going on here. And realistically, Oregon should have lost to Boise State and Miami should have lost twice. So really it should be Army and IU, which is an insane thought in the world of college football, but that's the world we live in right now. Speaking of Boise State, we're going to give a little update on what we would call, and what is now starting to become a little bit more mainstream of a thought, the Heisman frontrunner, Ashton Jeanty. 1,031 yards through week 6. That's only 5 games played, though, and 2 of those he only played about half the game. That is more than 102 FBS teams. There's only like 134 or 36 FBS teams. So to have more yards than 102 of them is quite an impressive stat.
The crazy thing, he's making this look routine. That's the crazy thing. Like, I can see him averaging, or a running back averaging 10 yards a carry in a game or two against a soft opponent, but this dude's doing it week after week after week. And then you couple that with a lot of these Heisman leading quarterbacks like Milroe and Dart and Dylan Gabriel having some off games. I love that right now we're kind of in a 2-horse race for the Heisman, and neither one of them are quarterbacks. It's right now, I think it's Jaunty 1 and Travis Hunter is 2 in my opinion. But
yeah, I think so too. I had Milroe ahead until last week, but with the loss, I think it's those 2 also right now.
Yeah.
So a little comparison as we're watching to see if he's going to break the record. And this is kind of a crazy stat too, because it's 40 or 35 less carries. To compare him to where Barry Sanders was at this point in the season, Barry had 130 carries. Jeanty's only got 95. Barry had 1,002 yards. Jeanty has 1,031 yards. And Barry has 17 touchdowns. Jeanty had 16 touchdowns. So he's ahead of him in 2 of them, and then just 1 below in touchdowns. So I mean, we're talking a pretty impressive thing about, and like the average college football fan probably has no idea who he is, to be honest, because he plays at Boise. If they just pay attention to like, oh, what's the primetime game on ABC this week or on ESPN this week, they're not going to know who the hell he is. And that's a crazy thing to think, because what he's doing is absolutely impressive. I mean, he just keep continuing on from what he did last year. So we're going to get into a little referee talk here. So news came out today that the Big Ten told Lincoln Riley that they believe Minnesota scored a touchdown on the 4th and 1 run late in the game that ended up being overturned on a touchdown to give them the game-winning touchdown. They never said that there was evidence. They never said anything. They said they believe he scored. I was watching the game when they ruled him short. Every replay they showed, you could not see the running back. You could not see the ball. You could not see anything. There was no way they were going to overturn this. Well, here come the referees, and they overturned it. And USC is no longer undefeated as they lost that game at Minnesota. The biggest snake oil salesman on earth continues his run as they somehow won and beat USC. I don't understand that one at all. And then to continue on, like we said earlier, back-to-back weeks where Miami's benefited. So late in the game, Cal had the ball. The quarterback ran. There was a clear targeting. Would have given 15 yards and a free first down. Pretty much would have ended the game as Miami was trying to come back at that point. They called targeting on the field, reviewed it. No targeting after the review. It was horrendous. Like, it was clear targeting. Then Miami gets the ball back, goes down on the 5-yard line with there was very little time left. I think it was under 20 seconds. They threw a touchdown pass for the game-winning touchdown. 2 linemen are standing in the end zone. So, I mean, it was clear as day. Not even just one. There were 2 of them there. It's just, we talk about it all the time, but something has to get figured out with officiating. And I know Texas A&M beat the hell out of Missouri, but Missouri on their very first drive of the game went right down the field and scored. And there was a god-awful penalty that took that back that ended up costing them points. They would have been up 7-0. And I mean, momentum's a real thing. That was a huge swing in the game. Missouri went from up 7-0 to end up being down like 24-0 instantly. And I mean, people say what they want. Yeah, they killed them. Things are different when you score first. I mean, the whole game changes. So, I mean, Looking at final score, people say, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. But if you watch the game and know how football works, it was a huge deal. Reese, you have any thoughts on any of the referee nonsense from this weekend?
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm tired of it. Like, it's been impacting some pretty significant games. The USC Minnesota game, it was almost like a makeup call after the Gophers got jobbered in similar fashion the previous week when they were playing Michigan.
The onside kick.
Yeah, like I don't know what the answer is to it. It's a lot more difficult to fix, I think, in this situation, in certain situations anyway. But there's a lot of things that are also crystal clear. Like I keep going back to the Virginia Tech Miami game, but
yeah,
the rules very clearly state you have to have undisputable evidence, and I feel like a lot of these things are being called or overturned on evidence that is not undisputable by any stretch of the imagination. So,
yeah, I mean, 2 weeks in a row where there were calls that were overturned that there was no evidence to show why you can overturn that. The Vatek Hail Mary should have never been overturned, and the Jesus, I'm drawing a blank now. The Minnesota score there at the end on the 4th and 1 should have never been overturned.
Yeah.
All right. So to go through last week's top 25 games, Oregon beat Michigan State 31-10. Syracuse beat UNLV 44-41. Vandy beat Bama 40-35. Ohio State beat Iowa 35-7. Arkansas beat Tennessee 19-14. Georgia beat Auburn 31-13. Penn State beat UCLA 27-20. Miami beat Cal 39-38. Texas A&M beat Missouri 41-10. Washington beat Michigan 27-17. Minnesota beat USC 24-17. Ole Miss beat South Carolina 27-3. Clemson beat the Noles 29-13. Iowa State beat Baylor 43-21. Boise State 62. Utah State 30. The Ponies, SMU 34, Louisville 27, and mighty IU 41, Northwestern 24. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull up trying to remember so last week, my lock was Clemson minus 14.5 against Florida State, and that did hit. Reese's lock last week was Tennessee minus 13. It was one of the big upsets of the weekend as Arkansas beat them. The dog last week, I had Ball State. Ball State actually played kind of well. They had a terrible second half. They really should have won the game.
Yeah, they should have won that game.
And then Reese with Missouri, like I said, that big momentum swing very early in that game kind of swung it, and A&M put quite the hurting on Missouri. So I hit my lock, and that was about it for last week in the world there. So let's get into the games for this week. We are going to start off on Friday night. Number 16, Utah is going on the road to face Arizona State. Utah's a 6-point favorite at Mountain America Stadium in Tempe, Arizona. 45.5 over under. Friday night at 10:30 on ESPN.
Yeah, kicking things off here with the Will Cam Rising play already. 2-1 loss Big 12 teams. Sun Devils have been looking good this year, but Utah had a bye week. They smoked the Sun Devils last year. I think this is probably going to be a bit of a get-right game for the Utes. I'm going to take the Utes here to win and cover.
Yeah, I'm not. I believe in Kenny Dillingham and this Arizona State team. And until I see Utah just show that they can actually be a real football team again, I don't understand what the hell's going on in Utah. I think we need more clarity again on the situations going on there. But I like Arizona State at home to cover they're getting 6 to get the 6. I actually think they might win this game outright, to be honest. South Carolina is going on the road to number 7 Bama. Bama's a 21-point favorite at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. 50.5 over under Saturday at noon on ABC.
Yeah, speaking of get-right games, here's one for Bama after that big loss to Vandy. Gamecocks are not good this year at extending drives. They have a struggling defense. I think this is a good spot for Bama to get well, so I'm going to take Bama here, minus the 21.
Yeah, I would like to think that they come into this game really pissed off. South Carolina can't really throw the ball. I think Bama's D is going to be way too much for them on offense. I like Bama to cover the 21 also. Number 10, Clemson is going on the road to Wake Forest. Clemson's a 20-point favorite at I hear all kinds of sirens. What's going on? Police are coming for Deshaun Watson. Legacy
I'm not hearing any of it.
Oh, it must be in my ears. A Legacy FCU Stadium, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 60.5 over-under Saturday at noon on ESPN.
Now I'm concerned for you. Clemson's covered 3 of the last 4. Looks to be the team to beat in the ACC right now. Wake Forest has a pretty suspect defense as well, so I'm going to go with Clemson here to win and cover.
Yeah, Clemson's kind of been rolling. They did struggle a little bit against Florida State in the second half on their offense, but I still think they're just way too much for Wake Forest. I don't think this is going to be much of a game at all, especially a sleepy noon game. I don't think that'll be much. An interesting road game here. Number 21, Missouri, going on the road to our favorite UMass. Missouri's a 27.5-point favorite at Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium in Amherst, Massachusetts. I'm sure Big Bill Raftery will be there in attendance, Alumni Stadium. 54.5 over-under Saturday at noon on the Deuce.
Oh, man. Big Bill, if you're out there, bro, and you're listening, we miss you, buddy. Yeah, another team in need of a get-right win. Mizzou looked absolutely terrible last week. Needs to get Cook, Burden, and Noel going here early, but I am going to take Mizzou here to win and cover.
Yeah, there is not a better team you want to play, maybe outside of Kent State, to get right. And I think Missouri is going to kill them. I think they cover this one pretty easily. We've got a Red River shootout going on here. Number 1, Texas versus number 18, Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Texas is a 14.5-point favorite, 50.5 over-under Saturday at 3:30 on ABC.
Yeah, pretty significant spread here for the Triple R. Last matchup, Texas won 49-zip, but in 9 of the last 10 meetings, it's been decided by 1 score. That bodes towards Oklahoma plus the points here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Sooners plus the 14.5.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's won quite a few of those too. I'm taking Oklahoma also. I think this is way too many points. I know Oklahoma's struggling at quarterback a little bit, but I mean, these are the games kind of when the quarterbacks have made their names for these teams. So this was actually when Caleb Williams became a huge stud. He got entered into this game as Texas was beating the shit out of Oklahoma, and he led them back. So I like Oklahoma on this one as well. Number 4, Penn State is going on the road to USC. Penn State's 5.5-point favorite at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. 50.5 over-under Saturday at 3:30 on CBS.
Here we are again with another team looking to shake off a bad loss after USC gave up that second Big Ten loss to Minnesota last week. Penn State's rushing attack should give USC some problems. Tough road matchup for the Nittany Lions traveling cross country. I'm always hesitant with this team because there's going to be some time where they're going to let me down, but I am going to take Penn State here to win and cover on the road.
Yeah, I'm playing the waiting game with them also. We've already seen Oklahoma State. We've already seen Ole Miss. It's now when does Penn State fall apart? And I think it's this week. I'm going to take USC plus the 5.5. Stanford is going on the road to number 11 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 23.5-point favorite at Notre Dame Stadium in Notre Dame, Indiana. 45.5 over-under Saturday at 3:30 on NBC.
Notre Dame, Indiana. Stanford's QB situation is atrocious, which makes this a really bad matchup for them. Notre Dame's got a top-tier passing defense. I'm going to take the Irish here to win and cover.
Yeah, Stanford, outside of one really good receiver, is pretty much ass all over the place. So I like Notre Dame to get the cover pretty easily in this one also. Cal's going on the road to number 22, Pitt. Pitt is a 3-point favorite at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 58.5 over-under Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN.
Yeah, Pitt comes in ranked after a strong start to the year, 5-0 against the spread so far behind Eli Holstein. There are a lot of long-distance flights this week. There are a lot of cross-country trips happening. Cal blew a 25-point lead last week against Miami. We talked about that earlier. I don't think they're going to have a chance to do anything like that this week. I'm going to take Pitt at home to win and cover.
Yep, I'm taking Pitt as well. Cal just has to be devastated after last week. It's a tough to go all the way across the country and then play a team like Pitt. I think this line's way too low. I like Pitt a lot in this one. Purdue is going on the road to number 23, Illinois. Illinois is a 19.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Champaign, Illinois. 49.5 over-under Saturday at 3:30 on the one for fun.
Purdue looked good in like game 1, and they've looked like straight ass the last 4 weeks. They're averaging like 11 points a game. Illini coming off a bye week doesn't bode well for the Boilermakers, so I'm going to take the Illini here to win and cover.
Yeah, I like Illinois too. I don't know what's going on at Purdue, but it's not good. This is one of the games I'm looking forward to most this weekend. This game's going to be awesome. Arizona going on the road to number 14, BYU. BYU's a 4.5-point favorite at LaVell Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah. 48.5 over-under Saturday at 4 on Fox.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to watch. I figured you were going to have this one starred. Fafita versus the BYU. Zone is coming off the loss to Tech. BYU's pass D is one of the best in the Big 12, which should help slow down Fafita and the McMillan connection. I'm going to go with the Cougars here to win and cover at home.
Soker's wild in Provo. I'm with you. I'm taking BYU, the BYU. I love them. I think this game's going to be awesome, though, and I really hope we see a show. Like 48.5 to me seems extremely low for this game. I'm kind of shocked by that. Like I was expecting like 58. Like
yeah,
48
I was thinking
low.
This was going to be closer to 60 in the over/under.
Yeah,
so that, a little surprising to me too. But
yeah, Vegas is onto something here. Maybe it's going to be a blizzard or something. Who knows? But I am. I love BYU in this one. They're kind of approaching that Utah territory where, they're not nearly as good as Utah, but they're approaching that when they're the home team. It's kind of tough to go against them. They play very well at their home stadium. Mississippi State is going on the road to number 5, Georgia. Georgia's a 34-point favorite in Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia. 53.5 over-under Saturday at 4:15 on the SEC network.
Yeah, Georgia should win this game pretty handedly, but they're not covering spreads. They're 0-4 this year against the spread in the last 4 weeks anyway. Mississippi State's also had a week to prepare. I don't like this 34 points, so I am going to take Mississippi State plus the 34.
And one thing they are good at doing this year is getting arrested. They got another player arrested just this week. I don't know that program is the Florida of the Aaron Hernandez days and Tim Tebow. Like they have arrest after arrest after arrest. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but it's not really pretty. Kirby needs to kind of get that under control. And I agree with you. 34 points in an SEC conference game is way too many points. I'm going to take Mississippi State also. Florida is going on the road to number 8, Tennessee. Tennessee is a 15.5-point favorite at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. 55.5 over-under Saturday at 7 on ESPN.
Yeah, this one's a little interesting. Vols coming off the road loss to Arkansas. Heupel's 1-2 against the Gators since he's taken over in the Volunteers. Mertz has also looked decent the past couple weeks, but I just have a feeling Tennessee's going to come into this one pissed off, and they're going to take it out on the Gators. So I'm going to take Rocky Top to win and cover.
Yeah, I am on Tennessee as well. I just don't think this Florida team has the offense to score. So I'm pretty big on Tennessee in the 15.5. Number 2, Ohio State is a 3-point favorite going on the road to number 3, Oregon at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. 53.5 over-under Saturday at 7:30 on NBC.
Game of the week here. Oregon's going to struggle to get the run game going against this Buckeye defense. And on the flip side of that, they're going to struggle to stop this two-headed monster with Henderson and Judkins. I'm taking Ohio State to win and cover. And frankly, I'm a little surprised this is only a 3-point spread.
I agree to an extent. I think Oregon's D can hang with Ohio State's O. I think that's the only thing that saves them, though. Oregon with the home crowd and their D, I think their D can be all right. Their offense is where I'm really worried. I don't think Oregon's offense is going to be able to do much against Ohio State. So I do like Ohio State, same with you, to cover the 3 on the road. Number 9, Ole Miss is a 3.5-point favorite as they go to Death Valley. Number 13, LSU, Tiger Stadium, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 63.5 over-under Saturday at 7:30 on ABC.
Yeah, this one scares me a bit, being an Ole Miss fan and it being night in Death Valley. Kelly's only lost 1 at home since he took over. I do think Kiffin's squad's the better all-around team. Hostile environment, but I'm going to go with Kiffin and Ole Miss to get the W.
Once the bed has been pooed, the sheets are never changed. So I'm going to go with LSU here. I don't trust Ole Miss to rebound at all. I think LSU's going to win this game outright. Number 11, Iowa State is a 3-point favorite as they go on the road to West Virginia at Milan-Pusker Stadium in Morgantown, West Virginia. 53.5 over-under Saturday at 8 on Fox.
Yeah, Iowa State keeps crawling up the rankings. Looked really, really good this year. West Virginia's won their last 2, but Garen Green didn't look great through the air last week. I think he had just over 53% percentage completion. Cyclones have won 4 of the last 5 in this matchup. Let's make it 5 of the last 6 here. I'm going to take the Cyclones to win and cover on the road.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup because West Virginia has started to play a little better as the season's gone on. It's a night game in Morgantown, a very, very sneaky environment. The place is going to be on fire. Literally, it will be if they win because they'll set the couches on fire. But I think Matt Campbell's still got this team dialed in a little too much. I love their defense and the way they're playing. I'm going to take Iowa State to win and cover here. Number 18, Kansas State is going on the road to Colorado. Kansas State's a 4.5-point favorite at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. 56.5 over under Saturday at 10:15 on ESPN.
And both these teams coming off buys. A little bit of a revenge game for Dylan Edwards returning to Colorado after transferring. This is a tough one because I think this is a situation where Shedeur Sanders can have a really good game. I'm going to go with K-State. Shit. You know what? I think K-State wins this one, but I'm going to stick with Colorado to at least cover the 4.5. I think K-State wins, but I'm going to take the 4.5 in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm on Kansas State minus the 4.5, but this is kind of a game where Colorado could maybe start earning some respect. If they could win this game, then I think maybe we have to start talking about, have things actually changed in Boulder, or is it just they've had the benefit of who they've been playing still? My problem is I haven't been that big on K-State this year either. So that's kind of where I'm running into an issue. But I think we have the better coaching, and I think we have the better team in Kansas State still. So I'm going to take Kansas State minus the 4.5 on the road. Number 17, Boise State is heading to the island, Hawaii. Boise's a 21-point favorite at Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex in Honolulu, Hawaii. 60.5 over under Saturday at 11 on CBS Sports Network.
11 p.m. kickoff is ridiculous for me, but I know you love it. Johnson needs some primetime games, man. Boise State lead the nation in points per game. Broncos have been dominating this series. I'll take Johnson and the Broncos to win and cover on the road.
The island is tough to play. Hawaii is improving game after game with Timmy Chang, but I don't know how they stop him. I'm going to go with Boise State minus the 21. So that's it for our top 25 games. Let's enter the Muncie six-pack and kick it off with a very interesting Big Ten game. Washington's going on the road to Iowa. Iowa's a 2.5-point favorite at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. 42.5 over under Saturday at noon on Fox.
Yeah, Washington coming off a solid win over Michigan last week. Now they face another physical team in Iowa. I think this could be a bit of a letdown game for the Huskies. I'm going to take Iowa here, minus the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on this one because Iowa did also just get their soul crushed in Columbus. And I mean, I know they do usually play well at Kinnick, but I think Washington's too much for them. I'm actually going to take Washington to win the game outright. Wisconsin going on the road to Rutgers. Rutgers is a 2.5-point favorite at SHI Stadium in Piscataway, New Jersey. 41.5 over under Saturday at noon on the Big Ten Network.
Wisconsin's coming off a huge win, but it's over Purdue. Rutgers, solid game. It was a tough game to lose against Nebraska last week. I don't think the Badgers are honestly that good of a team. Scarlet Knights at home, they're able to grind out wins. I'm going to take Rutgers here to win and cover.
I'm on Rutgers as well. I still like what they're doing, and they're what Wisconsin used to be, a very physical team that can play D and on their home field. Like I like Rutgers a lot. I'm going to take them minus 2.5. Set the record books on fire, and this one is 1-4. Ball State is heading on the road to face 0-5 Kent State. Ball State is a 7-point favorite at Dick's Stadium in Kent, Ohio. 59.5 over under Saturday at noon on the Plus.
Perfect name for a perfect team. Tough loss for Ball State last week. I hate seeing them start 0-4 or 1-4 because I don't think they're as bad as their record shows. They've had a couple really tough opponents this year. If Simonza can limit the turnovers, there should be no problem covering the 7 points against this Kent State team. So chirp, chirp.
Yeah, this was going to be my lock of the week, but I switched it. So I'm calling this my bonus lock of the week. Ball State, I said it last week, they're better than their schedule, or they're better than they've performed. And if they can't beat Kent State by more than 7, we got to talk about some issues. I'm going to lose a lot of faith in Ball State if they don't win this game by more than 7. Cincinnati's going on the road to UCF. UCF is a 3-point favorite at FBC Mortgage Stadium in Orlando, Florida. 58.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on the Deuce.
Yeah, neither of these teams are great, but I think Cincy has a better looking offense. UCF has looked like shit on both sides of the ball the past couple weeks, especially. I'm taking the Bearcats here plus the points.
I am as well. I'm on Cincinnati also. And like I was kind of down on, I'm down on both of these teams to be honest, but Cincinnati has kind of had a little bit of a resurgence over the last few weeks, and they've shown me a lot more than what UCF has shown. I like Cincinnati to win this game outright also. Louisville's going on the road to Virginia. Louisville's a 7.5-point favorite at Scott Stadium. Where's Scott at? It's his stadium. Charlottesville, Virginia, 54.5 Saturday at 3:30 on ACC Network.
Louisville needs to figure it out on the defensive side of the ball for sure. They've given up plus 30 the past 2 weeks. That's resulted in 2 losses. Virginia on the flip side, they've won 2 in a row, including a nice comeback win against a good team in Boston College. I'm going to take the Cavs here at home plus the 7.5.
Yeah, we've thinking a lot alike this week. I'm on Virginia as well. I think they've improved greatly this year. They're playing really well, and Louisville is not really done what I thought they were going to do, and it's a road game. A 3:30 road game in Charlottesville isn't exactly what you're going to get hyped for. So I do like Virginia in this one. Washington State is going on the road to Fresno State. Washington State's a 3.5-point favorite at Valley Children's Stadium in Fresno, California. 60.5 over under Saturday at 7 on the one for fun.
I think this has a chance to be a high-scoring game. Fresno needs to shake off the ugly loss to UNLV last week. Washington State's coming off the bye. They've won 4 straight before losing to Boise in late December, which was their last game on the 28th, I think. Tough call on this. I'm going to take Washington State plus the 3.5. Fresno, yeah, I'm going to take Washington State plus 3.5.
I'm on Fresno plus 3.5. I like Fresno on their home field. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they can keep it close. And both of these teams, this is kind of like a wait and see game for these teams. Both of these teams have been struggling, and it's kind of what are we going to get from them? But Fresno usually does perform well at home, so I'm interested. I think that Fresno can handle this. Closing it out with Vanderbilt and our man, the Pisser, going on the road to Kentucky. Kentucky's a 13.5-point favorite at Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. 46.5 over under Saturday at 7:45 on the SEC Network.
Yeah, battle of the giant killers here. That set up well for NCAA football. This could be a letdown game for Vandy hitting the road after a huge win against Bama last week, but I just think this is too many points. I'm going to take the Pisser plus 13.5.
I'm on Vandy also. I can't believe, I get that it's kind of a letdown spot because they just essentially won the Vanderbilt National Championship last week, but I just don't think Kentucky's good enough that they should be 13.5-point favorites against a team that can actually move the ball in crazy ways and keep ball control. I like Vandy getting the points here. All right, that is the end of the Muncie Six Pack. It is now time for our locks of the week. Let's start with you, Reese. What is your lock?
I'm locking in on the BYU. Cougars competing for a shot at the Big 12 title. In order to do that, they got to take steps towards this and beat teams like Arizona. Jake taking them one step closer to the promised land. Lock me in on BYU over Arizona.
My lock of the week is Ohio State going on the road to Oregon -3. I just think, like I said earlier, they're just way too good. I don't think Oregon is that good, to be honest. And the fact that Oregon might be the fakest number 3 ranked team I've ever seen. Well, with Penn State right behind them. I don't think either one of those teams should be ranked where they're ranked. But I do like Ohio State to put on quite a performance in Autzen Stadium. For the dogs of the week, Reese, what do you got?
Lock me in on the Pisser, man. I'm taking Vandy to get the win, and Kentucky is my dog. Pavia's been playing well. They can keep the connection between him and Stowers going. This should be a spot to get a road W, so I'm going Vandy.
I love the pick, and so does the man that was on our front page graphic. My dog of the week, USC plus 164 at home against Penn State. We saw it last week. Tons of ranked teams getting beat, going down. I think we're going to see a few more of those this week, and I think this is going to be a top 5 team that is eliminated pretty quick. I think Penn State will lose, and we're going to lose 2 top 5 teams this week because Penn State and Oregon will both lose. So I am taking USC plus 164. So with that, we will wrap up our Week 7 pick episode. Like, share, subscribe to the episode. NFL picks will be coming out here in a little bit also. So for Jacob Workman, or for Reese Downing, Ron Burgundy. For Reese Downing, I am Jacob Workman, and we will see you guys next week. So have a good week, everyone.
I love Lamp.